Hello beautiful people, Stephanie here, and in today's follow along tin whistle exercise, we're going to be taking a look at pitch and tone, intonation, and tuning your tin whistle. Now before we get into the practicalities of tuning your instrument, or the exercises to improve and perfect your intonation, it's worth knowing that tin whistle is a variable pitch instrument. And to give you an idea of what that means and help you understand that, it means that every time you blow a note on tin whistle, you may be blowing it slightly flat or slightly sharp, depending on how much air you put into each individual note. And the air pressure you need for each note is completely different. As a comparison, a piano is a fixed pitch instrument. And this means that when you press a certain note on a piano, it plays that note back to you pitch perfectly. Whereas when you try and do the same thing on tin whistle, you are controlling the air that you put through on each note, and that breath control and that breath pressure is what makes the note sound correctly or sharp or flat. Now it's also worth noting that there are three types of tin whistles. There's the higher end whistle, which has a built-in tuning slide, and these whistles are designed to be moved around. They're designed for fine tuning. There are other whistles which have a fixed plastic top, and these tops are glued onto the whistle. So this means in their current state they're not tunable, but what it does mean is that you can run these under some hot water, loosen the glue, and actually end up removing these plastic tops and make these whistles tunable. Alternatively, there is a third style of tin whistle, and that is the non-tunable whistle. For example, the Clark Original. This is a one-piece whistle and it doesn't have any tunable or movable elements on it. So the only tuning you can do on a whistle like this is what you can do with your breath control. Now, regardless of whether your instrument is tunable or not, you can still check the tuning of your tin whistle against a tuner app. There are lots of tuner apps that you can download on your phone, and I use one called Sound Corset. Now, to check the tuning of our whistle, we first need to warm the whistle up. Cover the blade at the front with your finger and blow through the mouthpiece to blow hot air into the whistle. Blow with a medium pressure on your lowest note and see how that comes up against your tuner. You'll notice that some of these notes aren't hitting the green, but you can adjust the amount of air you put into the whistle to try and make those notes sound true. By blowing with more force, you'll raise the pitch and sharpen the notes a little. And by blowing more softly or gently, you'll lower the pitch and flatten the notes slightly. Intonation is your ability to play each note at perfect pitch on your instrument. And the best way to build up and improve on your intonation is by firstly listening to pitch perfect notes. For example, by playing those notes back on a piano or some sort of piano app, and listening to those perfect pitch notes. That will give you a good benchmark of where to start. Also, then practicing blowing those notes at different pressures on your whistle to achieve that perfect pitch alongside your tuning app. So let's try that now as an exercise. We'll hear the piano note in the background. Then we'll try and match that pitch on our whistle using our tuning app to see when we're in tune. Practicing listening to those notes will train your ear to hear perfect pitch, and practicing playing these notes with your tuner will help you remember how much air you need to put through each note to achieve that perfect pitch. It will also be able to help you recognize when you're playing notes slightly flat or slightly sharp. If you have a tunable whistle, tuning your whistle becomes that extra bit complicated, but it can make things a little easier on the breath control front. Tunable whistles have a movable mouthpiece, and they're fine-tunable by adjusting the mouthpiece. Pulling the mouthpiece out and extending the length of the whistle overall will make the whistle flatter, whereas pushing the mouthpiece in as far as it will make the whistle as sharp as it can get. Ideally, most tunable whistles should need to be extended slightly, because then this gives you the opportunity to sharpen, if necessary, or flatten as you need to. Sometimes you will need to sharpen your whistle if you're playing with other musicians that are tuned slightly sharp, and sometimes you'll need to flatten the whistle. Also, it's worth bearing in mind that the more you warm up your whistle and the more it's played, the sharper it will get. So flattening the whistle as you play really helps. Also, if you plan to play in a session or with other musicians, you'll likely blow a lot harder than you do at home, and that's to try and increase the volume of your instrument. So in that case, blowing harder will sharpen the pitch of your whistle even more. So you might find what you've practiced at home will go a little out of whack by the time you get to playing with other musicians, in which case you'll need this tunable whistle to lengthen the whistle and flatten the notes. So let's take a look at tuning a tunable whistle. So first things first, let's warm the whistle up. Start by pulling your tuning slide open a few millimeters. And then we're going to blow with a moderate pressure on our lowest note, our D. This one's coming up sharp, so that means I can extend my tuning slide a little more. And with a moderate to light pressure, I can hit that perfect pitch D. Let's try the G. With a moderate pressure, that G is coming out perfectly, whereas the D actually comes out slightly sharp. So adjusting the mouthpiece to lengthen the whistle further a little bit again might give me a good middle ground between the D and G. Let's try the other notes. Pretty good overall, although when we get to the highest notes, they're always a little bit difficult to get perfectly in tune. Adjusting this tuning slide either up or down to sharpen or flatten your notes is the best way to fine-tune your instrument. Always be sure to warm the instrument up before you start, and test your D and G with a moderate breath pressure. Then if you need to add more air or more push to sharpen notes, or pull back on that breath and use less breath to flatten notes, you have the option. So that is how you tune a tin whistle, and that's how you improve your intonation. Regular listening so you can recognize pitch-perfect notes, and of course regular practice against a tuner so you become familiar with the breath pressure that your whistle needs. Mixing things up on tin whistle makes things even more complicated. Changing brand of whistle, changing key of whistle, changing the situation you're playing in, or even the changing weather can all affect the tuning of your whistle. So be prepared to always be learning with this instrument. If you found this video helpful, please do hit that big thumbs up button. And if you'd like to learn some more fundamentals on tin whistle or try out some other practice sessions, please do check out the other videos in this mini course, which I've linked in the description down below. Thanks for watching, happy whistling, and I'll see you again soon.